Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. This is the prayer. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So welcome to Srimad Bhagavatam class. So today we'll be studying Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, and starting from chapter 26. Can you, this one, can you change the settings? Treble needs to go up, and bass and mids go down. And the volume can go down. So, chapter 26, we started to hear about the creation. And this is a discussion between Kapila Dev and Devahuti. So this is them. So this is Kapila Dev, and Devahuti is his mother. So he's starting to instruct her about the process of devotional service. And they're getting into the creation of the universe, which is important. So it's an analytical study of the universal elements called Sankhya. And it culminates at devotion to God. So find the spot. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare. So 7. Material consciousness is the cause of one's conditional life, in which conditions are enforced upon the living entity by the material energy. Although the spirit soul does not do anything and is transcendental to such activities, he is thus affected by conditional life. And today's verse, text 8. Call and response. Karya, Karana, Kartritve, Karanam, Prakritim, Viduhu, Bhoktritve, Sukha, Dukhanam, Purusham, Prakritehe, Param. Line by line, call and response. Karya Karana Kartritve, Karanam Prakritim Viduhu, Bhoktritve Sukha Dukhanam, Purusham Prakrite Param. Karya Karana Kartritve, Karanam Prakritim Viduhu, Bhoktritve Sukha Dukhanam, Purusham Prakrite Param, Karya Karana Kartritve
Karya Karana Kartritve
Karanam Prakriti
Karanam Prakritim Vidu Bhokritve Sukadukhanam Purusham Prakrite Param
Karya Karana Kartritve
Karya Karana Kartritve
Karanam Prakritim Vidu
Karanam Prakritim Vidu
Bhoktritve Sukadukhanam
Bhokritve Sukadukhanam
Purusham Prakrite Param.
Purusham Prakrite Param Karya Karana Kartritve
Karanam Prakritim Vidu
Bhoktritve Sukadukhanam
Bhoktritve Sukadukhanam
Purusham Prakrite Param.
Jam Prakriti Param
Karya Karana Kartritve
Karana Kartritve
Karanam Prakritim Vidhu
Karanam Prakriti Vidu
Bhoktritve Sukadukhanam
Bhoktritve Sukadukhanam
Purusham Prakrite Param
Purusham Prakriti Param Kare Karan Kartritve Karya Karanam Kartritve Karanam Prakritim Vidu Karanam Prakritim Vidu Bhoktritve Sukadukhanam Bhoktritve Sukadukhanam Pusanam Prakrita Param Purusham Prakrite Param
Karya Karana Kartritve
Karya Karana Kartritve
Karanam Prakritim Vidu
Karanam Prakritim Vidu
Bhoktritve Sukadukhanam
Bhoktritve Sukadukhanam
Purusham Prakrite Param
Purusham Prakrite Param
Karya Karana Kartritve
Karya Karanam Kartritve
Karanam Prakritim Vidu
Karanam Prakritim Vidu
Bhoktritve Sukadukhanam
Bhoktritve Sukadukhanam
Purusham Prakriti Param
Purusham
Prakrite Param Online
Karya Karana Kartritve Karya Karana Kartritve
Karya Karana Kartritve
Karanam Prakritim Viduhu
Karanam Prakritim Vidhu
Bhoktritve Sukadukhanam
Bhoktritve Sukadukhanam
Purusham Prakrite Param
Purusham Prakrite Param
Karya Karana Kartritve
Karya Karana Kartritve
Karanam Prakritim Vidu
Karanam Prakritim Vidhu
Bhoktritve Sukadukhanam
Bhoktritve Sukadukhanam
Purusham Prakrite Param
Purusham Prakrite Param
Karya
Karya Karana Kartritve
कारणं प्रकृतिं विधुः
Karanam Prakritim Vidhu
भोक्तृत्वे सुखदुःखानां
Bhoktritve Sukadukhanam
पुरुषं प्रकृते परम्
Purusham Prakrite Param
Karya-karana-kartritve
Karya Karana Kartritve
Karanam Prakratim Viduhu
Karanam Prakritim Vidhu
Bhoktritve Sukha-dukhanam
Bhoktritve Sukadukanam
Purusham Prakriti Param
Purusham Prakrite Param
Karya-karna-kartritve
Karya Karana Kartritve
Karna Prakratim Vidu
Karanam Prakritim Vidhu
Bhoktritve Sukha-dukhanam
Bhoktritve Sukadukanam
Purusham Prakrite Param
Purusham Prakrite Param. Anyone else?
कार्याकारणकर्तृत्वे
Karya Karana Kartitve
कारणं प्रकृतिं विदु
Karanam Prakritim Viduhu
भोक्तृत्वे सुखदुःखानां
Bhoktritve Sukadukanam
पूरुषां प्रकृतेः परम्
Purusham Prakrite Param. All response. Karya, the body. Karanam, the senses.
Regarding the demigods, Karanam, the cause, Prakritim, material nature, Viduhu, the learned understand, Bhoktritve, regarding the perception, Sukha, of happiness, Dukhanam, and of distress, Purusham, the spirit soul, Prakritehe, to material nature, Param, transcendental. The cause of the conditioned soul's material body and senses, and the senses presiding deities, the demigods, is the material nature. It is understood by learned men. The feelings of happiness and distress of the soul, who is transcendental by nature, are caused by the spirit soul himself. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that when the Lord descends to this material world, he comes as a person by his own energy, Atma Maya. He is not forced by any superior energy. He comes by his own will, and this can be called his pastime or lila. But here it is clearly stated that the conditioned soul is forced to take a certain type of body and senses under the three modes of material nature. That body is not received according to his own choice. In other words, a conditioned soul has no free choice. He has to accept a certain type of body according to his karma. But when there are bodily reactions as felt into happiness and distress, it is to be understood that the cause is the spirit soul himself. If he so desires, the spirit soul can change this conditional life of dualities by choosing to serve Krishna. The living entity is the cause of his own suffering, but he can also be the cause of his eternal happiness. When he wants to engage in Krishna consciousness, a suitable body is offered to him by the internal potency, the spiritual energy of the Lord. And when he wants to satisfy his senses, a material body is offered. Thus it is his free choice to accept a spiritual body or a material body. But once the body is accepted, he has to enjoy or suffer the consequences. The Mayavadi philosopher's presentation is that the living entity enjoys his pastimes by accepting the body of a hog. This theory is not acceptable. However, because the word pastime implies voluntary acceptance for enjoyment, therefore this interpretation is most misleading. When there is enforced acceptance for suffering, it is not a pastime. The Lord's pastimes and the conditioned living entity's acceptance of karmic reaction are not on the same level. Karya karanam kartritve karanam prakritim vidhu bhoktritve sukadukhanam purusham prakrite param. The cause of the conditioned soul's material body and senses, and the senses presiding deities, the demigods, is the material nature. This is understood by learned men. The feelings of happiness and distress of the soul, who is transcendental by nature, are caused by the spirit soul himself. Thank you for being here, everybody. So, Maharaj, we're always happy to hear your comments. If anybody wants to add to the discussion, please raise your hand. We have one?
Never mind.
The class of man.
If you'd like a cushion, feel free to get one, or a seat if you need.
Men.
So, here we see Kapiladev explaining to Devahuti about the conditioned souls. We have a few concepts here, okay? We have a cause. Cause is a big point in this verse. So, understanding, if it's possible to turn this down a little bit, it'd be helpful. Cause is a really powerful knowledge. If we know the cause of something, then it gives a lot of clarity. So there's the cause of the conditioned souls. Not that low. So we have a comment now. One moment.
Okay, Maharaj.
There's a type of Mayavadi philosopher who sometimes presents himself as if he's God himself. And when asked, how can you be God? You're forced to take the body of a dog or a cat or some low species. And they sometimes say, well, it's my pastime. When I'm in these bodies, when I'm apparently suffering, it's not that I'm actually suffering. I'm enjoying my pastimes. So that's what they say. So Prabhupada's addressing that discussion, because that's certainly not the fact. But there is such a thing as the Lord. God, there's only one. But he appears in different forms. Advaitam Achyutam Anadam Anantarupam. Adyam Purana Purusham Navayoganam. Yes. Unlimited forms. But his original form, Shyamasundar form, the Krishna form, two-handed Krishna, playing on a flute, ever youthful, never grows old. The Mayavadis would also have their followers believe that their form that they are taking now is something spiritual. And when they have to go through death and disease, old age, birth again. That's just their pastime. That's why they're trying to trick people into worshiping them as God. And partly because of this, there's been a strong resistance to accepting many aspects of the so-called Mayavad philosophy, impersonal philosophy coming from the East, because it certainly is not accurate. In other words, not everyone can become God. There's only one God. Not that there's two or many or numerous, or everyone is God. These ideas are absurd. There is one God, but he can appear in different forms. And he does. Krishna shows himself appearing sometimes as a cowherd boy, sometimes as a kshatriya, a warrior, king, sometimes as a Brahmin, a sage, very learned, or sometimes as an animal, like he appears in the body of as a boar, because boars have bodies that are very well suited for removing big dirty things from a big plot of water or some material elements there, liquid. And that was actually required. The Earth globe as we know it, or Bhumandala also called, had fallen down into the bottom of the Garbhodak Ocean in the center of the universe. And it could not be dislodged, couldn't be removed, because it had fallen down. And it's a huge, gigantic body of water. So the Lord appeared as a boar, and as boars do, he went down into the liquid, and he pulled out the earth. He lifted the earth up on his tusk. This is a wonderful pastime. This is a pastime. Not that someone just makes up some little story about what he likes to do and calls that his pastime. So that's not accepted. And one who's interested in understanding Vedic knowledge will need to hear the Vedas explained by a Bhagavata. A Bhagavata like Shukadev Goswami or Vyasadeva or His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. These are Mahatmas or Bhagavatas. They have perfect knowledge and they can explain what's happening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maharaj. Okay. So does anybody have any questions on what Maharaj explained? Okay. So I can recap some of the points that I heard. So Maharaj started off by mentioning that there's a type of a philosopher called a Mayavadi. That means somebody who thinks that all the pastimes of the Lord are actually a type of an illusion. So it's very interesting that they say all the pastimes of the Lord are illusion, but actually my silly activities, suffering and material nature are actual pastimes. What does this mean? This means that there's a class of philosophers who use the Vedas to actually deny the existence of a personal God and refrain from surrendering to Him on the basis or on the false basis of knowledge. So these books are called the Vedas. They're written by Vyasadeva. So Vyasadeva is an incarnation of Krishna, and these Sanskrit books have perfect knowledge. Maharaj mentioned that there are people who are called Bhagavatas, and they have perfect knowledge. They don't have any faults, because they're actually fully surrendered to the Lord's will. Therefore, the Lord from within the heart can fully direct all their senses and their mind and their intelligence. He can do so for us too, and He wants to do so. It's not that we lose our individuality, it just would become harmonized perfectly. So that's actually the goal of Krishna consciousness, is to harmonize our individual minute free will with the supreme will of the Supreme Person. And if this happens, even within a very small number of individual souls who willingly surrender and actively surrender their will to, or dovetail their will with the Lord's supreme will, then the environment created by such a group of people is known as the spiritual world. And that is the purpose of this institution, ISKCON institution, is meant to propound the highest philosophy for the welfare of all beings, right? Which is that we are eternal servants of the Supreme Lord, and by surrender to His will, then we are actually in our real constitutional position, and we create a spiritual world even here now. And we create different centers where we congregate. We turn our homes into places of congregation and glorification of the Lord, and we just continually serve the Lord, and by anyone we come in contact with, they also get influenced by that atmosphere and that purity. So it comes from hearing from people who are pure. So basically, we've all been blessed to associate with somebody who was connected with Krishna, and ultimately we made choices, and we are making them even this very second, to continue associating with Krishna and with those who are connected with Krishna. So Maharaj was explaining this group of philosophers. They say, yes, you may have heard it in a bar, you may have heard it at work, you may have heard your mom say it, you may have heard your friends say it. Yeah, I actually am God. I'm just having fun as Mr. James. Yeah.
We'll ask, you say that you people are those followers of Krishna, that they can become perfect. So how is it possible that an ordinary person can become perfect? And they criticize that. They think that's a flaw in the philosophy. But actually, a devotee of Krishna, he doesn't think himself to be God, perfect in that regard, as God is perfect. But perfect in the sense that he's heard correctly from the perfect source, and therefore what he speaks will be perfect knowledge. For example, even a child, father tells the child that this is a dictaphone. So the child says, this is dictaphone. Even though he doesn't know all the details, but his information he's given, that's what he heard, he gave that perfectly. So then his statement is, you can't find any fault in it. He says, my father said, this is a dictaphone machine. That's perfect. Similarly, one who teaches Krishna consciousness as it's taught by Krishna and his representatives, is also a perfect teacher in the line. Thank you.
So much, Maharaj. We pray that Shri Gaur Nitai, if they so desire, they can allow all of us here at RVC to become perfect teachers in the line, following in Srila Prabhupada's footsteps and the footsteps of his associates. So, would anybody like to add anything now? Anybody have any questions about that comment that Maharaj made? Radhastali Mataji?
Hare Krishna. My question is related to, there's a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, where where it's spoken about how you could understand the absolute truth in three ways, being Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. And so when we do teach or share, is it appropriate to elaborate on all three and I guess give the jivas the opportunity to choose how they want to see the Lord, although we ourselves want to see Bhagavan or surrender to Bhagavan? Yeah.
It's a nice question. Thank you. Is there any comment there? So so this is a nice question, whether it's acceptable to teach some of the lower understandings. Those things are mentioned here. It's like if somebody doesn't understand that they're not the body, there's definitely no question of understanding Brahman or the absolute truth, the non-dual substance. So then we can start giving perfect, pure knowledge, and we may not have to explain everything right away. So if we reserve that knowledge about the Supreme Person for those who are eager to understand it, then we can ensure that there isn't any offenses against the Lord. At the same time, I spoke a few days ago, Krishna says that this knowledge about the Supreme Person should be spoken amongst those who are devotees of God or interested in knowing God in a personal way. But the devotees are so eager to give the mercy to others that they even disobey the Lord and share knowledge about His personal identity, even to persons who are not interested. Now, if we are if somehow or other our ability to speak the highest truth is compromised, or rather what I want to say is if it becomes unideal to share everything all at once, it doesn't mean that we are hiding Krishna's personality. But at the same time, we as devotees should be clear that we ourselves may not be that fixed in our personal relationship with Krishna. And if we speak other topics, especially about everything being energy, or that non-dual substance beyond, that it doesn't move and it doesn't walk and it surpasses all others running, and it has no arms but it can accept everything that you offer, and all of these kind of vague things from the Ishopanishad or different places. Without the Bhakti Siddhanta, then we ourselves may lose touch. Therefore, we go on hearing from the Bhagavatas who have a personal relationship with Krishna, and we try our best to be merciful upon everyone we meet. And it is up to them how far they want to go, So those are some points. Did somebody have something?
Can I?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, Prabhu, very nice topic is going on regarding Mayavad. A few days back, I had one discussion with my old friend, and he was bit of influence with Mayavad philosophy. So, the Chandogya Upanishad, one statement is that Tattvamasi, you are that supreme being, you are that supreme reality. We can understand this with our Vaishnava philosophy based on how supreme being and Jiva are different. But he just stuck with the point regarding mud and, for example, on mud and pot. Like before there, mud was there. From that, pot creates, and once that destroy, it remains mud. So that kind of analogy most people are give. So how can we defend our philosophy, and simultaneously we can understand this Tattvamasi concept on Chandogya Upanishad, which is there for Mayavad. It's like their main sentence. So how can we understand, Prabhu? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Just 1 second. What is that? This Tattva. We are part and parcel of the Supreme Spirit. We are Brahman. We are spiritual, which is being mentioned here in this verse. So we can continue the conversation on the Sankirtan WhatsApp chat, and please feel free to share your thoughts. And thank you very much, everybody, for being here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the